Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia Friday Night Debates. Tonight, we're going to be talking about a very important topic. But before that topic comes on, I have Reverend James D. Barkley. He's the acting chairman of the board of directors of ULAA. That's the Union of Liberian Associations in the Americas. Reverend Barkley is currently in Indiana attending the ULAA National Convention, and he was kind enough to give us a few minutes so that we can discuss ULAA, because there have been some issues that we want to address concerning the umbrella organization. Reverend Barkley, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Honorable Jah. It's a pleasure to be here. We want to thank you to always avail your station to us to disseminate information that is important to our people. Thank you again.
Thank you. We want to welcome all our viewers from across the globe. This is a Friday night debate on Focus on Liberia. But before that, before the group come on to debate whether Liberia is going forward or backward, I have a short interview with the acting chairman of ULAA. And Reverend, I want to start with the first thing, three things I want us to discuss. A month or two ago, ULAA passed a resolution, right? And that resolution by the board of directors alleges that ULAA, the government of Liberia, is sidelining ULAA. And this is how the resolution went, right? The president of the union, that's the president of ULAA, Mohammed Keita, informed the board that the government has excluded the union from participating in national activities and has not communicated information about important events. These include, but not limited to, an event in December 2024, an event acknowledging Liberia's seat on the UN Security Council, celebration of Liberia's 178th independence anniversary, and a planned diaspora conference for which ULAA was not invited. I want us to start from there, Reverend Barkley. ULAA has taken issue with the government of Liberia on those things. Where does ULAA stand today? Because the resolution has been a few months back now.
Thank you for remembering that resolution. The resolution was passed based on report that was sent to the National Board of Directors and based on the board's own observation of relationship between the government of Liberia and the Union. However, following the passage of that resolution, we did a modification which specifically allowed the union's president to participate in the forthcoming Diaspora conference. Because as you are aware, the union does not intend to disrupt anything that would bring good and benefit to our people. But our concerns stand and they are still on the table. And we are deliberating with other partners that are within the diaspora community to address them fully. Tonight, I may not be going in depth about them because I didn't signal our partners that they would have been discussed, but we intend to follow up on our concerns following the successful hosting of the Diaspora Conference.
Okay. So when you say the government of Liberia is excluding ULAA, what is the history and what has changed?
So I understand I'm being dragged a little bit to go in the territory that I want to reserve.
Okay.
But this issue is being handled at the diaspora's higher level.
Okay.
So like the resolution stated, I just want to remain on this position. And then we leave it like that because we have issued a resolution. It is clear. But to deliberate on it further may not be the right direction for tonight. I'm going to come back here with our partners and our colleagues so that we can go into that.
All right, I respect that. Let's move on to the next thing. I hope our relationship has improved and that the government is doing what you wanted the government to do. But what really, when it comes to ULAA, the government of Liberia, or politics in general in Liberia, what is ULAA's role?
So if you went over the preamble and the motto of ULAA, one of its concerns for which the framers founded ULAA was to ensure that human rights are upheld, good governance is displayed. So these are ULAA's concerns, and the only way we can monitor these activities is if we have direct line of communication with the executive mansion, which is the president's office. And the core of our concern is the lack of direct line of communication. Let me just give you a little example, and then I'm going to stop here. When the Diaspora Conference was formulated, there were several individuals that placed themselves in the public media. President Bouakai appointed me to do this. Will ULAA join me? President Bouakai appointed me. We feel that that should not be the medium of communication between ULAA and His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia. We believe that if the President wants to undertake a project, which is a prerogative, it is appropriate that he tells ULAA why he's doing and what he wants ULAA to do. But when everyone comes around and starts to introduce themselves, it brings a situation of confusion in our minds and within our chapters. But like I told you, we put it on pause until after the Diaspora Conference because we don't want to appear like we are speaking only about the Diaspora Conference.
Okay. So my question is beyond that now. So what really, does ULAA also work with civil society organization besides the government, that open line? But I'm talking about civil society organization, also political parties. What is ULAA relationship with Liberia when it comes to, let's say, all these groups, pressure groups? What is ULAA, how does ULAA relate to them?
So ULAA's position is to hold everyone accountable.
Okay.
That is responsible to deliver goods and services to our people.
Okay.
So be it an individual, be it a government institution, religious institution, press, any institution that has to do with delivering goods and services to our people will be accountable before ULAA. That's the role of ULAA. ULAA's primary role is to ensure that things are done right for our people.
Thank you. So that takes me to my next question, and My panelists for tonight's debate, they are coming in now. So ULA is now having a convention over in Indiana. One of the keynote to this convention is the political leader of the Citizen Movement for Change. He's a guest speaker. A year prior, the guest speaker or the keynote speaker or launcher was, and Musa Belete is the political leader and also a sitting representative. The last keynote was another politician and a representative speaker of the House, who is now the former speaker for Nati Kofa. Prior to that, the presidential affairs minister Nathaniel Fallow McGill was the chief launcher. What does ULA look for when ULA is inviting a keynote speaker?
So first of all, it's a measure of test to those that hold authority in our country. Mm-hmm. If you agree to appear before ULA, you are signing a verbal contract that you can be held accountable. So that's the whole aim of ULA, of inviting people that are in authority to appear at this convention or at the seminars to discuss issues that affect our people.
So on what basis was Nathaniel Fallow McGill invited as the chief launcher? I know that brought a big problem among, within the rank and file of ULA. After that Fallow McGill incident, then we have Funati Kofa, and what they all have in common is they have money, either their own money or money that they allegedly have stolen. So when ULA is inviting these people, what do you consider? And I want you to draw that line between Nathaniel McGill, Musa Belete, and Funati Kofa.
Well, our primary objective, first thing we don't do is that we don't assess their cash worthiness, but we look at the position that they hold, and how much influence they command within our society, among our people in Liberia. This is the primary reason for which we chose our speakers. And one of the speakers you didn't mention was, in Buffalo, we have Honorable Cummings, Alexander Cummings, as our guest speaker. So we always start identify people that have the potential or want to or are incumbent to speak to ULA, and then we use it as an opportunity to ask them critical questions of how things are going in our country.
Thank you. One of the issues that have sparked concern among people in the diaspora is ULA current vice president, Madame Emmanuel Nabwe, has been appointed by the Citizen Movement for Change as one of 8 officials, and that is the chairperson for the women wing of CMC USA. People have a problem with that. Do you?
Oh, definitely. When the news came to my office, I was concerned, and the union was concerned. And what we did as a union was we put into place an investigatory system that will find out the facts about what were being propaganda or in the news media. We invited the executive team to appear before the National Board of Directors. And we asked the president of the union if he has heard about this. He received our inquiry and responded he was going to get back to the National Board of Directors. 2 nights ago, we convened a follow-up meeting, at which time he was accompanied to the meeting by his vice president. And it was an open administrative meeting. We produced the issue that you just mentioned. The vice president acknowledged that she saw the communication months ago. She informed the joint body that she did not accept Now, we are aware that,
Hold on 1 minute. Let me understand. She acknowledged that she was told that she was appointed the chair of the women wing of CMC, but she did not accept the position. That's what I'm hearing?
yeah.
Okay.
Now, we are aware that such a thing would be a contravention of ULAA's guiding principles to be a sitting vice president and accepting a prominent position with a political party. But one, we learned from her that this issue was brought up several months ago, and we just got to know about it. And we asked her deliberately, and she explained to the body that she intends to continue to serve as the vice president of the union, and this is the reason for which she did not accept the appointment. Based on these facts, with no other fact evidence contradicting her presentation, the National Board of Directors found it not worthy to elevate the discussion to any further level.
What do you need to prove whether she accepts the position or not?
Well, one of the things that happen when people are given such positions, we give them an option to make a choice because we don't allow them to take on both positions. And she stood in the meeting and made a pledge to remain as vice president of ULAA, and she was not accepting the position, and she would not be functioning there.
How do you know she's telling the truth?
That is a very, very difficult question that I will answer. But the board functions with judicial powers and legislative powers. So when she was speaking to us, she was speaking on an oath at our level. So we believe what she said, and based upon that, we hold her word to be true.
All right. Is there anything written in ULAA that you cannot be part of ULAA or in the leadership of ULAA and be a part or a feature of any political party or part of government? Are there rules to that effect?
Yeah, 1 minute. You know, when laws are made, laws are really something I don't make like recipe.
I like that.
Yeah, so, but they are made in a form that they cover vast areas. If you and I were to go to ULAA Constitution chapter 26, Article 2 and Article 4, these give general causes for which people can be removed, elected officials can be removed and impeached. Though they did not name, say if you are a ULAA vice president and you took a position for CMC, but it spoke of malfeasances, it spoke about conduct detrimental to the vital interest of the union shall constitute grounds for impeachment. So, you know, when the laws are created, they are spread in a way that they cover things that cannot be named. So, but however, we didn't reach to that point because we didn't find evidence to go further.
Okay.
Yes, indeed, we stand by it. You cannot be a ULAA vice president or ULAA official, elected official, and hold a prominent role in the political party.
Thank you. Similar issue came up when the vice president visited, where the president gave a speech that appeared that he was endorsing the vice president for presidency or for president in 2029. I don't know if you're aware of that controversy as well.
Yes, I was one of those who appeared on one of the medias and gave the clarification that it was never the intent of our national president to support a candidate or to be candidate in any race. It was not written on the speech he presented, And if it was misconstrued at that level, but it was not his intent, and it's not ULA's intention, it's not the president's intention, and we'll cover that at the time.
Thank you. Well, let me welcome my colleagues who are joining us for the debate, and we can welcome Reverend F.T. Salif.
Thank you, Dennis, and our Honorable First Vice Chair, Reverend Barclay. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Your Excellency. How are you?
Wonderful.
Thank you. Let me also welcome FOL political analyst, a product of Waplo Institute from Kilipo, Kanwiken, Mr. Mohammed Sherry. Welcome, Mohammed.
Yeah, Dennis, how are you?
Great. Now, I have a few minutes with Reverend Barclay is the acting chair of ULAA Board of Directors, also a councilman in New Jersey. We discussed briefly. He's on his way to the national convention. But if you listen to our discussion and want to have any word with Reverend Barclay, please feel free. Pastor Salif, if you don't even have to ask. If you want to quote scripture or say anything, just go ahead.
Listen, I'm an executive of ULAA, and Reverend Barclay is on the board. He's already spoken, and I don't think I want to add anything to the discussion. He has spoken for ULAA, and I don't think I should be adding anything to what he said. Any other thing we can discuss that in our ULAA meetings and stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Sharif.
Yeah, I didn't follow. I didn't. I don't have anything to add.
Thank you, Reverend Barclay. We really appreciate your time. Coming here. One thing, the question that has been coming over and over is, ULAA has a stand today. Sometimes people question what is ULAA all about and what can we do to improve it. Now you are going on a convention. Just tell a little bit about the convention, what you are expecting, and what role can ULAA, what can ULAA do? But before I even get to that, let me welcome the perfect manager. That's T. Maurice Croman. Maurice, welcome. And if you have any question for Reverend Barclay before he wraps up.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you for the opportunity. I listened a little bit for maybe 10, 15 minutes. I wanted to ask the chairman of the board about why is ULAA so vested in the politics of Liberia when there's so many Liberians in the diaspora that are heavily affected by so many different things: healthcare, education, job opportunities, immigration. Why is ULAA so vested in the local politics in Liberia instead of focus on the Liberians that are in the diaspora?
Okay, let me just address that by giving you my personal background. I was never a member of ULAA. I was the president of Liberian Association in Atlantic City, New Jersey. When I learned about conflict in ULAA during the Kesselly administration, I hosted 2 conventions there, peace mediation conventions. I brought in Baibala, Thomas Wonyu, Anthony Kesselly, Emmanuel Weti, all the ULAA's past and present leaders. We hosted them and we conducted mediation among them. I state this because every condition, deficiencies we have stated about ULAA is about our own non-involvement. Following that process of peace mediation in Atlantic City, I decided to become a part of ULAA because I felt that my absence created a void. So I want to extend it to every listener out there today. Everything you know that ULAA is not doing, come on board. I came into ULAA as an outsider, and today and playing a leadership role. Now, let me come back and answer your question directly. ULAA was founded during the revolutionary period of Africa, and Liberia was of no exception. So its core attention was on how to bring about advocacy in our country and for our people abroad, to bring about equality and to preach about social justice. It's of late that the current administration of ULAA is venturing into infrastructure development in Liberia. So no, ULAA is not only vested on Liberian politics, but ULAA is paying attention to the plight of its people. The difference here is that we have limited resources to cover the needs of our people. So I want to extend invitation to every talented Liberian to approach me, my office. We are going to find a way to either incorporate your ideas or form a partnership with your organization so that together we can build a very vibrant diaspora community that can cater to the needs of our people, especially during these times in the United States.
Thank you.
Can I add something to that, Dennis?
I thought you said I'm going to add to them after you interview.
No. I wasn't adding to the interview. This was a question from Mr. Kruman. And that question is impregnated. And, I see, because, people just sit on the sideline and all they want to do is point finger at ULAA. So I want him to specify his question, because this question is very intentional and is impregnated. So I want him to give us specific aspects where ULAA has been invested, because that's the word he used in local politics in Liberia. Give us aspects.
Yeah.
No, hold on. It's not argument. You asked the question.
Give it, because the question.
Number one, let him give us specific aspect in which ULAA has interfered.
Because we are almost out of time.
That's number one. Number two, whether members of ULAA are not also Liberians. So if it is wrong to be involved with local politics, but since I've been with ULAA, I have never seen us take part in local politics. So let him specify which aspect of local politics ULAA has been invested in. Give us an example.
There's no pregnancy in the question, Mr. Salif, and I'm not the one being interviewed, but let me give you examples of what I mean when I say ULAA is heavily vested.
Yeah, give us an example.
So you asked a question now. Let me answer that, Chief. Just give me a chance. Since I've been in the U.S. for, over 20 years, and I can go back to as far as Vofi Jabate time in ULAA, and all I have seen, Dennis, no. Brother Sharia, no. We're in listserv group and we're arguing about this ULAA thing. All ULAA activities from that time, when I was still probably just going into undergrad, trying to get a bachelor's degree in America, was all about people, trying to establish relationship with government, because it seems, at least from the data and the history, that everybody that become, get into ULAA leadership, they end up in Liberia in either an elected position or an appointed position. There's no debate or argument about that.
That is not giving the specifics.
Give me a chance, please give me a chance, please. I beg you.
We got 2 minutes to let.
Yeah, go to the point. Say ULAA did this. ULAA did that.
Fast forward to 2025. We as Liberians in the diaspora, more than 250,000 Liberians spread across the diaspora. ULAA cannot point to a single activity, a single project that he has done for diaspora besides dual citizenship bill, things that are connected to Liberia. But how about the kids that were born here in 2000? They are 25 years old now. Those kids are professionals now. What have ULAA done to actually keep the culture of Liberia in the diaspora active? That's a simple question. It's not about politics. Just me asking, what are you doing for the diaspora Liberians that are in the diaspora? Diaspora is not diaspora is America. Everybody outside of Liberia. That's diaspora. What are you doing?
I second his sentiments.
Unfortunately, you did not give any specific. When you accuse people of being heavily invested in the politics,
Pastor Suri, let me just say this. Let me say this before the man leave, Mr. Jack. Let me say it quickly.
No, hold on. You accuse ULAA of being heavily invested in Liberian local politics. You never gave any aspect. You never said we endorse candidate, we took part in the election. You gave no aspect. You just said people from ULAA have been appointed in position or elected position. They are Liberians. If I'm part of leader and ULAA and I decide to go contest election in Liberia, it doesn't mean ULAA is invested in Liberian politics. It's an individual thing. So you can't just get up here, accuse ULAA of being heavily invested in Liberian local politics, and you can't give any specifics. That is
let me get a word in here, please, Mr. Pastor Silly. Look,
thank you.
No, you gotta let me speak for 30 seconds, Mr. Jack.
I told you he was here for the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, Dennis, I'll give you another 10 minutes. Let's have a conversation about this thing.
Have a conversation because I think that the Pastor Silly has opened up a can of worms
about it, please.
Yeah, look, what I was gonna say is, as a young man, as a relatively young man, right? What Maurice Kamara is saying is right.
I know you 10 years ago, you always say you're young.
Yeah, I'm a relatively young man. Look, the point I'm trying to make is that what is ULAA doing for the diaspora? And like what Maurice was saying, we here in this country right now, we don't even have a functioning consulate here in Minnesota, in Chicago, to close down all the consulate. The thing that's supposed to provide services to us here in the diaspora is closed down. ULAA is not advocating for that. Instead, like what Maurice is saying, you have people on the board of the union who is actively involved in politics. Multiple board members of ULAA is involved in politics. You had that whole thing a few years ago with McGill. You had people who was working on the board of ULAA who was in the country lobbying the government for certain bills. You guys don't have a structured organization where you have a team of people who can lobby the government directly for the benefit of Liberians. You have one individual who's going around making I'll call his name, Eminent Wetty, who's going around making the rounds on different platforms as if he's a one-man wrecking crew. ULAA as an organization hasn't made any impact in my life, to be honest with you, as a young Liberian living in the diaspora. And many of my peers will say the same thing. So I think when it comes to political figures, you try to tie yourself to them, you try to align with them, you try to rub shoulders with them. But when it comes to the young people and the people in the diaspora, you're not doing anything for us. You don't have programs that include young people to ingratiate themselves with the wider diaspora in America and in Canada. You're not doing anything. I said this to Mr. Namwe. He got angry with me, and I'm saying it. And I think Morris is saying the same thing. So he's right. You guys are too close to political figures, and you're not doing things that actually tangibly helps make our lives better in the diaspora.
Elvis, 100%, I agree with your perception. When you say, what is ULAA doing for us in America, it's a conversation to be had. But to just come and say ULAA is heavily invested in politics in Liberia, that's accusation with no come from me. That is a lie. ULAA, when you say someone is heavily invested in politics in Liberia, an organization, ULAA as an organization is not invested in politics in Liberia because ULAA, hold on, Dennis, ULAA will be apolitical. We don't take part in those things. That's why the VP came.
Well, you always inviting politicians to all your big programs.
Somebody to come and speak is not the same as invested in politics in Liberia. Why are you confusing this thing?
Well, those are your friends. You know what the old saying, Pastor Silly? Show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. All your friends are politicians. All your friends are politicians from Liberia.
Yeah, after 8 o'clock, let me progress.
Thank you, guys.
I think let Reverend Barkley get a final word on this.
Yeah, Reverend, let me get your final word. Most of the time, and I want you to wrap up with this. Most of the time, not just ULAA, but most of our organizations here, we are so back home focused that we leave our members here unattended to. Every time we go to Alumni Association, we collect money and send it back. Lofa County Association collect money and send it back. So that's what we do, including ULAA. So wrap up with if I'm a member of ULAA or any other organization here, what are my benefits here in the?
I want to thank all of those on the panel that express their views about ULAA's contribution to the well-being of diaspora Liberians. I don't see your statement as criticism. You want to gain information, and I'm going to be brief here because I will be coming back again so that we can take a lengthy time to go into this. But let me just take you back again, like I said previously. Someone said ULAA is vested in Liberian politics. One of the reasons for which ULAA was created is to provide for our common good and advocate for political, social, and economic development in our country. That was spelled out in the preamble of ULAA. Now let me come back when he said most of the leaders of ULAA, they work in ULAA to take employment from Liberian government. I think that doesn't hold true 100%. I'm a second-term elected councilman. I'm looking forward to seeking further elected position in the Americas. I'm doing this because I love my country. I felt the way you feel today, and I thought my involvement would have brought about change. But if it comes to what ULAA has done, depending on how you came in this country, you might have not felt the impact of ULAA's contribution to the lives of diaspora Liberians. ULAA fought for TPS. ULAA fought for DED. ULAA fought for Donald Trump, President Donald Trump's bill he signed in 2019 that gave pathway to citizenship to nearly 5,000 Liberians. ULAA collaborated with some Congress people. ULAA had his last engagement with the Liberian government was to discuss ways and strategies on how to approach the immigration issue that is, I don't know, let me just choose my word kindly, that is being developed in this country. So ULAA tries its best with the limited resources it has to do what it can do for its people. But I agree, we can do more. And this is why I want to invite talented brains to come and join us. This ULAA is not afraid of people like you. We encourage people like you to come on board and share the knowledge you have on how we can make things better. Because I know there is bigger room that we have not filled yet. But maybe with your involvement, we can do better and we can deliver to the expectation of you and others. I want to thank you very much for inviting us here. Tonight, we are going to the meet and greet of ULAA's 51st National Convention. And I'm inviting all those that have not arrived to drive safely and come. If you are in nearby state, come and join us so that we can deliberate on issues about our country, our people, and our culture. I thank you for inviting us.
Thank you, Reverend, and enjoy your convention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Bartlett.
Don't worry, Pastor Sally will probably join you later.
Thank
No,
you.
he already said you, so it's not a big deal to it. So.
Oh, okay. Good. Thank you. All right. Again, gentlemen, I want to welcome you to our debate tonight. Tonight's debate, we're going to be looking at is Liberia as a country within the last 4 years. And I'm taking just 4 years. And if you want, you can classify it as 2 years of President Weah and 2 years of President Bouaka, whatever way you want to chop it up. But within the last 2 years, is Liberia moving forward or backwards? Are we making progress? And last week, we looked at 2 areas. We look at mainly the economy, revenue generation, etc., etc. With the current issues happening, let's look at the fight against crimes. That's one, and then transparency. When I talk about the fight against crimes, let's start with drugs and substance abuse. Drug smuggling and doing all those things with drugs. How has that fight been? Are we moving forward, winning the fight, or losing? Number 2, when it comes to rape and other forms of sexual violence, is the country getting better? Are we winning the fight in that area or not? When it comes to the fight of corruption in public service, how are we doing? Is the country moving forward or backwards? That's the first part. The second part will deal with transparency, government transparency. And when I talk about government transparency, let's look at the transparency in hiring practices. If government is hiring someone, especially in the civil service, do we know, are we following the steps so that we all see, so that when or Mr. Sharif appoints or take they won't say all of them from River G, So we want to see also transparency. Let's look at the transparency when it comes to salaries and benefit packages for government officials. Do we know how much they make? Like if I want to see Mr. Sharif work with the city of Philadelphia, we can tell how much he makes. And so if but can we tell? Are we getting better with that within the last 2 years, or are we getting worse? Also, the awarding of contracts, when people benefit from contracts, transparency, and last but not the least, trips. When government take trips, sometimes we don't have to benefit whatever it is. Who is paying for the trip? How much does it cost? Just be transparent, tell us. So, gentlemen, that's what I have on the menu tonight. So generally, I want to get your introductory statement into this. Is Liberia moving forward or backward? Let me start with, he says relatively young. Let me start with the young man, Elvis.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jai. Look, I'm excited for the topic. Hello to you and the fellow panelists. I'm excited for the topic because I think I've come, I have an objective eye when it comes to these issues. So I think, in certain things, the country is moving forward, especially when it comes to the fighting of drug in the country. I think there's been a lot more activities, so to speak, when it comes to drug, LDA enforcement in the country. Way more than what we saw in the previous administration. But I think we eroded in certain places, especially when it comes to respecting the rule of law by the executive branch of government. What we saw with the House and removing tenure officials, those things are certainly taking a back step. Certainly when it comes to the economy, revenue generation is kind of lagging. If it's not stagnated, it's probably,
okay,
we're talking about that one. Okay, but I said a lot of things are kind of regressing and a few things are looking better than the previous administration. If you want to hold a yardstick to the previous administration, that is. So, I'm looking forward to the discussion, and that'll just be my introduction.
Thank you. Morris, forward or backwards?
Thank you, Dennis, again for the opportunity, and thank you to my fellow panelists. It's a very interesting conversation, Dennis. It's hard, sitting from afar with all of us sitting across the country to really see and measure the sort of progress that we want to see in the country. There is one thing to have high expectation, but it's a whole different thing to actually see if the country is making the progress that you want to see. In my mind, I think there are some, like Elvis said, there are some things that are getting better, but we're still solving problems in a haphazard way. It's not done holistically. And so times and times again, when these problems are solved, they end up coming back again because they are not solved in a holistic way so that it's sustained. And a good example of that is the drug war. A lot of us get some of our information from social media, and what we see is that we see uniformed people burning down a shack or maybe collecting bags that are filled with drugs, and we say, oh yeah, these people are fighting a drug war. But in realistic terms, to fight drugs, it's gonna entail a lot of things that are not just arresting someone that have drug in their hand and taking a picture and putting it on social media. It includes a lot of different things. So the government has to demonstrate, the national legislature and the executive branch has to demonstrate that there is a clear path to this particular battle that they're fighting. How much rehabilitation have we constructed across the country? What are we constructing regional rehabilitation centers? How much of the health sector is involved in the drug war? What is the drastic penalties that we are putting in place for people that are trafficking drugs? How are we, encouraging our youth to go into other programs that are not pushing them away from being, successful citizens? So those kinds of things, if we're not able to put them in a holistic form, we end up being, in a situation where we cannot manage our drug war effectively. Just an
Thank
example.
you. Pastor Salif.
Thank you, Dennis. I think the question being asked, some of the questions tonight, I think it's all based on who you ask these questions to, because I don't think there's any objective fact sheet on Liberia there that it's nonpartisan, that people can report on the progress of Liberia. I know one group that does it. It's Edwin Jawulo and his group Nemot. I don't know if it's called Nemot or Nemote. And I know in the first year of Bwaka, when they came up with their findings, the government 100% kicked against it. Even though those were their objective facts on Liberia, the government was really mad at it and they trashed it. So they want us to believe what they are putting out. They don't want us to believe what other individuals are putting out. So whether Liberia is making progress, whether they fight against crime, against drugs, whether those things we're making any progress, and it depends on who you ask. If you ask a partisan, Liberia is also, or Liberia is good. There are skyscrapers everywhere. Bwaka is building all the overheads and all the roads. If you ask other people, they from the opposition, nothing is happening in the country at all. It's all corruption and this. If you ask the third party, which is YouTube, I go on YouTube and usually I watch on the tagline that says this video was posted maybe a year ago or 7 months ago, and you watch it. You can form your own opinion. But I think
let me ask you. So I'm asking you now.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. So judging from what I see with my own eyes, I don't think we're really making progress. I don't think we've really moved the needle. But again, we have to put them in. We have to compartmentalize this question with specific areas, because I think there are some areas that are moving things properly, and there are some areas that things are just stalling. When you talk about corruption or crime, fighting crime, the only crime I see them fighting are petty crimes. What kind of crimes? We still have to compartmentalize that. There are economic crimes, there are financial crimes, there are other crimes. The real people committing the crime are way at the top. We don't hear about them. The only people we hear about is the little pickpocket down Waterside or somewhere. Those are the crimes they're always fighting, busting their little nest here and there. But what about the financial crime, the economic crime, people committing crime at the top? People signing contracts for kickback. I've seen what's going on now with LPRC and other petroleum importers and all of that. The real crime is at the top. Those one low-hanging fruit, that's why they go for and make us believe they're fighting crime. I've never seen anybody indicted under President Bwaka. I've never seen anybody go to prison, whether we are or Bwaka, or even with the U.S. getting involved and, indicting people. The country will say, oh, no, the same people, okay. Everybody who was indicted under George Weah today, they are other senators or they move somewhere else. Some of them are representatives. They're in positions. So then you ask, what kind of crime are we fighting? Just the little pickpockets on the streets?
Thank you. Mr. Sharif, your opening.
Yeah, so there are institutional problems, with regards to Liberia's forward march. At this point in time, it's not a forward march. It's stalled. Since the end of the Civil War, Liberia has not been able to take that leap forward. It's incumbent upon the national leaders to make the necessary adjustment, to imbue within themselves that patriotic fervor that's in some of us. It's lacking in a lot of these guys. So as a result, you're going to see a lot of problems, the degradation of the Liberian state. Since the end of the Civil War, things have rapidly changed. You have now this drug problem, and governments does not same. It's not just one set of leadership. It's leadership after the Civil War. You can go from Charles Taylor, who was really not serious about governing. He was serious about the thing he tried to do is to build an empire. He wasn't serious about building his own country. And then you fast forward to the interim administration after Taylor, to Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, George Weah, now JNB. There has been no serious effort to arrest the drug epidemic in Liberia. At this point, it's a crisis. What is the plan? Our institutions are very weak. The judicial institutions are very weak. So you need a conglomeration, a convergence, if you will, of all the different resources. You need your legal institutions to work. You need your social institutions, the rehab centers and whatnot to work. You need the economic arm of the government to put people back to work. So when you clamp down on youth who are addicted to drugs, you're going to have to take some people to prison. You're going to have to take some folks to in front of some judge who will render a decision whether to send them to court or to put them in a rehab facility after their court, after their jail sentence. That is lacking. And the vision is not even there. And when these people get out, where are they going to go? You need to have them put in some kind of a job training program to make them productive citizens. Then there is a lot that these people can do in the rural areas. I mean, what about agricultural brigade? If you ask me now to advise this leadership, within 2 years, this leadership will be able to be very productive if they listen to me. People like me and you and people, good people, they will be very productive, because one of the things that I will propose and put forward is an agriculture brigade in the rural areas. You take people from the urban centers, give them real job in the rural areas to work as agriculture brigade. Right now, you don't have any war. You don't have anything going on. And your security sector is pumping out large amount of money. This millions of dollars you can use in the rural area. You can have an agriculture brigade in the armed forces of Liberia. You can have the engineering brigade of the armed forces of Liberia constructing bridges, roads, and so on and so forth. But that idea is lacking, and somehow we have to travel to Europe to allow the Europeans to tell us what to do. We have to come to the United States to beg the United States government to go back home and show us where our minerals are, and then we start to negotiate. Like, show me where my stuff is, Mr. President, the United States government. Show me, please send me some people so that they can show me where my minerals are. Then we're going to negotiate with you. This is not how you negotiate. This is not serious. And lastly, Dennis, if we don't become an industrialized society, if we don't, this sort of agrarian economy, it would never work. Japan was devastated after World War II. Look at where they are now. China, after the Great Leap Forward and Chinese Revolution under Mao Zedong, look at China. Look at where they are now in terms of feeding themselves. I mean, so we have to take a page out of these countries that were, peasant societies that were 4 or 5 decades ago, just like us too. They have graduated from that. They have moved on. They have left us in the real view mirror, and we are still struggling. We are begging around, and somehow it's fashionable to go around and say, oh, please, Mr. President. They go to these other presidents, in these other countries, European countries, and so on. Please, we beg you, please give us this. It's a shame. For me as an African, it's a disgrace. I, feel very, very bad to see my leaders come over and beg at the table of the European, the Europeans.
Thank you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, tonight is Friday Night Debate, and we're going to be talking about, or we are talking about, Liberia as a country. Is the country moving forward or backwards within the last 4 to 5 years? And we are going to look at specific areas. Okay, definitely somewhere we'll be doing good and somewhere we're doing bad. At the end of the night, we want to see whether we are doing good in more areas than bad. And what do we recommend as a way to move things forward? So let's start with, the drug war. Smuggling it, using it, distributing it. I mean, one thing we can see is I think we have more people using drugs now. What is responsible for that, I don't know. But I want us to start from there. I saw that every part of the country, people have been saying this. There was arrest in River G. There was arrest everywhere. There's been drug busts everywhere in the area. Are we moving forward in this fight? Are we moving backwards? Or if I may ask, stuck in neutral? Let me start with Pastor Salif.
Honestly, I don't think we are, because for a small country, less than 6 million people, and drug still is a problem, that is concerning to me, because the best way to kill a tree is not from the root. It's not from the top. I mean, it's from the root. We need to find who the kingpin are. We need to find who the drug lords are. We need to find who the importers are. So we're spending millions of dollars in the budget on EPS. We're spending millions of dollars on covert operation. We're spending millions of dollars on NSA, and we don't have intelligence to know how these drugs are coming in, to know what the entry points are, to know who are the brain behind these things.
So Pastor Salif, are we closer to knowing those people now than it was 2 years ago?
I don't think so. Unless the government has some secret intelligence that they've not shared with us. But from what we are looking at, I don't think so. Unless
so are we getting farther from that target, or are we getting closer?
You know, honestly, I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I don't think I have an answer to that, whether we're further, because I don't know how far
I have an answer.
I don't know where the proximity to, such a thing during George Weah time till now. So I won't be able to draw the line to say we're farther or we're closer. But it is concerning that a small country like Liberia, drugs keep pouring in, and we can't trace the source. We don't even know which country this drugs coming from. We don't know who are the brain behind it. We don't even know who the sponsor of, the main people behind these things are. The only thing we do is go and bust maybe a small user in the corner, bust a small distributor somewhere, which is a progress. But we cannot end the drug issue.
Are we busting these small people more than we're doing before? I still want you to give me some comparison here. Are we bringing more people to justice than before? Are we catching more people? Are we rehabilitating more? How are we doing?
Again, like I said, I have to look at the fact sheet. No. I have to look at the fact sheet on a WEA to compare that, because if you say we're doing more or less, that means we have to understand what was the number under the previous administration, because that's the yardstick to know whether you're doing more or less.
The previous 2 years
under the previous administration. But as far as I'm concerned, right now in these 2 years, I don't see what they're doing. It's just pockets of stuff here and there, and that's it.
Okay. Thank you. Elvis, you got an answer for me. Elvis, I want you to
let me hear from Elvis.
Yeah, look, I mean, we have to have a reference point, right? And obviously the reference point would be President Weah. More so than even former President Sirleaf, because during President Sirleaf's term, we had, armed men in the country. And they had a closer eye on our country, what was being imported and exported. They had more, interest in the country because they had troops in the country. So you probably didn't hear much about the drug problem in Liberia because the international community was there. Now with President Weah, we saw how things kind of exploded. Now, I won't tell you that there was no drug bust during President Weah's time, but the only one I can recall is the big $100 million, drug bust, and you know how that ended. But we're glad that those, drugs didn't end up on the street. But just as a government, I can't recall. Maybe I'm just, not informed. I can't recall seeing these many drug busts, those many drug busts under President Weah, as we're seeing under President Boyka. So in my eyes, just looking from outside, quantitatively, I think they're doing a lot more drug busting, under President Boyka. I'll give him kudos for that. A lot more. At least we're hearing about it. Under President Weah, we barely heard anything about it. People even accuse him of being a drug dealer, which I thought was erroneous, but that was the point. So, Pastor Sirleaf, to be honest with you, I don't support President Boyka. You know that, but I'm telling you, he's doing more. Even though his LDA has been dysfunctional, they've been, I don't even know what kind of words I can use to describe them. But when it comes to busting these people and putting them in jail, they're doing a lot more. look at somebody like a region of Japan, which is a renowned drug dealer in Liberia. The capturing was very difficult to capture. We saw what happened on the ticket, just recently with the guy who was calling, to let his daughter go. Well, you had dedicated agents who were actually in that vicinity and trying to arrest somebody who was drug dealing. They got into a fist fight with those people. These are men and women in the country who are putting their lives and their safety on the line to fight and try to, eradicate drug in our country. But let me just tell you the problem with drug, right? The countries that have success or appear to have success with drug are those who are very draconian in the way they handle the drug issues in their country. Take the Muslim countries, for example, like Saudi Arabia, right, where having drug is a death sentence. You go to the Philippines, for example, you had the former president Rodrigo Duterte, who was trying to, who did the death penalty, and pretty much told anybody that before anybody with drug, they should kill them on the spot. And that still wasn't effective. The problem with drug, if you're a poor country, you're going to have a hard time dealing with it because it requires a lot of resources, requires a lot of manpower. You have to divert resources from essential places in your government and send it to drug fighting. And for most countries, they just can't afford it. So in Liberia, to try to put this on the government that they should take $100, $200, $300 million, which is probably a quarter of what's really required to fight drug in the country, it would be unfair to the other sectors of our country. So that we're in a conundrum. Do you take a couple of $100 million out of your budget if you can even afford that and put it on fighting drug, or do you spend $20 million a year and barely make a dent on the drug fight in Liberia? So overall, I'll give you just 10 more seconds. Overall, I'll give this government a B. I think the administration of the LDA could be better, but the actual field work is a lot better than what we saw on the president here.
Thank you. Let us be as brief as possible because we have so much to cover. Oh, Mr. Sharif, I don't know if you can argue with what Ever said.
No, I mean, I agree with part of it. I don't agree with the rest of it. We cannot say that the government is unable to do X, Y, and Z in terms of fighting drugs. This is an existential threat to the Liberian state. I mean, if you allow your youth to deteriorate in this manner, you're not going to have a nation in 20, 30 years from now or 50, 40, 50 years from now. So it is incumbent upon the leadership. I heard someone said the last time, well, they are overworked. They are overworked. Well, get out of the presidential business. Get out of the governing business if you're overwhelmed. I don't care if you're overwhelmed with 200 list of items. I don't care if you're overwhelmed with 1,000 list of items. You ran for that position. You ran for these jobs. The president, the vice president, members of the Senate and the House of Representatives, they ran for these jobs, understanding the challenges involved. And you promised the Liberian people that you are going to resolve these issues. Now is your opportunity to do so. If you're not going to do that, then get out of the kitchen. If you can stand that heat, get out of the proverbial kitchen so that,
So you agree that within the last 2 years, we are moving the needle a bit?
The needle it's very slowly moving. That's not enough. It's not catching up. It's not catching up with the numbers. It is not catching up with the numbers. So at some point in time, it becomes very symbolic that, oh, yes, we did this. We did a drug bust on the old road the other day and this and that and the other. It's not enough. I don't care if you go to Nuku Town and get 20, 30 people out there somewhere. I don't care. This has to be a concerted effort. That is right now in Latin America. This is a crisis. I was reading on Colombia the other day. The Colombian rebels, have returned to war. They signed a peace treaty in 2016. These guys, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, known as the FARC, these guys were engaged in, this drug trade. Now they're back to their old business. Some of them, they didn't lay down their arms. And now most of the shipments now that you see across the West African region are coming from these regions. And we've heard that Guinea-Bissau now is a conduit for drugs into the region. And these are serious issues.
Thank you. We have a lot to cover. Let me go to the puppet manager. Mr. Krumah, are we moving forward with the drug fight or are we moving backwards?
Dennis, I'm not a minimalist, man. Unfortunately, I'm not going to say that we're making progress on it because, like Brother Sharif said, it is
It's a
it has
small
to be,
progress.
yeah, it has to be a holistic approach. And also the fact that if the government does not address this existential threat, the leaders of the country are the next that will be victimized by the drug war by itself. Because it's a poverty thing. People that are poor are trying to find opportunity to get something out of for themselves. And if the government cannot address it, the government cannot be seen as, oh, the government trying, the government. No, 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 no. The government signs an agreement with the citizens. It's a mutual agreement that we will provide X number of services to you, you pay taxes to us. And that mutual agreement that exists between the people and the people that govern them has to be on both sides. So you can't come with a minimum thing and say, well, we're trying, we not have enough money, we're trying. No, 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 there's no trying in this thing. So for the government to demonstrate that it's serious, they have to set up a drug code that can prosecute people in record time. The legislature have to demonstrate that there's zero tolerance for drug trafficking. And then the executive also has to ensure that LDEA, the health ministry, and all the other sectors that are involved with the kind of rehabilitation and substance abuse and all that stuff, they are all aligned. If all of those efforts come together, you see how much impact that will make on the broader citizens. Because community members, simple things to say, all right, let's quarantine a community. Let's just take a pilot project. Nuclear Town, for example, over the next 1 year, we'll make sure that we quarantine Nuclear Town, that no drug will enter this Nuclear Town. The community members themselves will start pointing people out if we reward them for that kind of thing. It's those little things that we have to be able to demonstrate. And I don't think that's happening. People are working in silos. And so it's the way it is.
Thank you. And so we started on the solution already. So 1 minute each, how can we address it? And one of the solutions I've heard is the death penalty for drug dealers. Because the serious one, I mean, very hard one, if you're convicted, death penalty. Is that something? Let's talk about solutions. And let me start. Morris, you're already on the floor talking about solutions. So.
Yeah, in terms of solution, so to me, death penalty is sort of quote unquote punitive measure that's supposed to scare people and not to engage in the act. But we have people in government at the highest level that are also engaged in the business of drugs, and there are people in the national security sector that are engaged in the business of drug. Obviously, you're not gonna get the kind of results you want. To me, it's accountability. Liberian man, let enjoyment. Just put Liberian man picture on social media and say, the man, that drug man engaged in it here, and let the social media pull through that person up. You see the rape guy right now, the guy is embarrassed for the rest of his life. He has a steam. We don't have to put people on firing squad to kill them to show that we are actually fighting drugs.
But somebody was telling me, say, if you kill one person, we will kill you. And then what about the drug dealer who was killing maybe 1,000 persons at one point? But let me see, what other solutions do you have quickly, Morris? Then
So,
we'll go to,
in my mind, like I said, we have to set up, the judiciary has to set up a drug prosecution code that can be really rapid and fast. Those that are convicted, they have to be imprisoned in a place that is so remote, like Bela Yala, put them away for a long time that they can't see they can't see anything at all. And then the other thing is
they're making fun for us.
They have to go and make farm. They got to go make farm. Even if they're just sewing clothes, let them go sew clothes. Uniform for students, whatever it is. Put them to work while you treat them, rehabilitate them to make them productive citizens. I think those kinds of things, to me, from at least from a conflict resolution perspective, to me, that's the way to go about it, but not firing squad. I'm not into the killing people.
Mohammed, what solution you got? Is death penalty part of them?
The nation has wasted a lot of blood already. I could have agreed with the death penalty. At this point in time, I cannot, in view of what has already transpired in Liberia during the Civil War, and so we are still traumatized by those ugly experiences. So I would think that if you want to do such a thing, you have to have the institutions. As I mentioned, the legal institutions. We don't have strong institutions, very weak institutions. So you want to empower the legal institutions. You want to have the prisons ready, so that people can go to a long-term prison. And these prisons should be places where people are rehabilitated, they can learn new skills, agriculture, engineering, and those kinds of things, so that in the rural areas, you send people to the rural areas, agriculture brigade, people that can make farm, people that you can pay, you can employ them. A lot of this is economic issues. The government is not attending to the economic needs of the Liberian masses. People are overpaying themselves at the top level. So the government is top heavy. So you're not going to have all of these cosmetic solutions are not going to work, because at the top, at the very top, the drug dealer is looking at the regime that's overpaying itself. People are wealthy at the very top. So what they're going to do, what are the common people going to do to survive in this kind of society? So a lot of them turn to drugs and stuff like that. So it's a problem that needs a holistic approach, not this piecemeal approach that they're giving us.
Thank you. Evis, solution.
All right. Thank you, Mr. John. First of all, I think we have to understand the nature of addiction. I think Pastor Salif can probably speak on that better than I can. Addiction is something that is gripping. It's something that when it takes hold of a human being, they can do almost anything to sustain that addiction unless they get some serious help. So that's the first issue. To fight people off the addiction of drugs, especially some of these drugs, that is mixed with cocaine and other things that's highly addictive. The second issue here is to effectively fight this, you need a lot of resources. Let's not kid ourselves. Don't allow the search of perfection to be the enemy of progress, right? The reality is we're making progress. That's the first acknowledgement that we have to make. We're making progress. Now, the second thing is, like Morris is saying, other people are saying, if you know people in this government who are taking part in the drug, what is it not your obligation to blow the whistle? As a patriotic Liberian who wants to see this issue stop, I don't know anybody in this government who is involved in drug dealing or who is involved in protecting drug dealers. So if you know them, blow the whistle, Morris, or other people who may know them. It's your duty as a citizen of the nation to help stop this. So the point here is, ideally, right? Because I'm not an idealist. I like to live in reality. Community policing would help a lot, like what Morris was projecting, right? Where you have people working in communities and you have a whole holistic approach where the police is working with the community, people and trying to point out drug dealers and trying to clean the communities like that. But the thing with drug is that it's corruptive. It's going to corrupt the very same people who are there to fight it. That's one of the biggest problems with combating drug dealing. You have DEA agents who become corrupted over time, and then they protect these guys who will bring a ton of shipment into the country or into a community.
Right.
Do a lot of.
And so then let's focus also on the borders, right? Because if you talk about community policing, you're only dealing with probably the users. But the big guys who bring them in the country, like through Freeport of Monrovia, through the RIA, the Sierra Leonean border, and other porous borders around the country. So,
and that's the point. Mm-hmm. That's the point that I'm making, right? Collectively, as a society, we're corrupt. I hate to say it, but fighting drug dealing is about integrity. You have to have people who put their integrity and the security of the country above themselves, above their own financial needs. And it's very hard to find those people, especially in a poor country like Liberia. That's one of the issues, like Morris was saying. A lot of people would do it for economic reasons. A lot of people who are supposed to be there fighting the drug, 90% of them will probably take a bribe. 90% will probably say, just this one time, I'll let you pass. And that person that's taking that shipment is going to do a lot more damage than for that just one time. So the point is, how many people we have in the LD and in our police force who have the integrity to withstand thousands of US dollars to allow some shipment to pass? Let's realistically think about that. A lot of people will succumb to the pressure, to take money. So the point here is having more people with integrity on the drug, on the LDA and the police force, and then having more resources that you can disperse to put more people at the borders to get intelligence from neighboring countries and see what the drug networks are and how you can combat them. It takes a lot of resources, something that we just don't have in the moment. What do we expect the government to do? To get water out of the stone? It's not possible right now.
So we just give up, man.
No, we're doing the little we're doing. What else can we do? Do we have $100 million to allocate to fight drug? We don't. Where are we getting it from?
The person who brought in the drug. Pastor Salif, the people all your time now, so you have a minute.
It's okay. Let me just begin with Elvis. Keep stressing on the millions of dollars to fight drugs. We don't need all that money to fight drugs in Liberia. We just need will.
Give us an example of where it happened for less.
Come in. I'm talking about specifically Liberia. We don't need millions and millions of dollars to fight drugs. We just need seriousness in leadership. Now, I would love to be pragmatic. I grew up with soldiers. I grew up with police. I was right there, grew up with them. And I saw how they did with the drugs. Most times, the people we got on the line to fight drugs themselves are users. Just like an African country that I live in, where their customs system is terrible. Every time you saw on the news that they busted people breaking in contraband, it was always people who refused to settle the custom officers. They tell you pay this amount, you're paying them way more than you used to ship. When you refuse, they impound your goods, they put you on TV that, oh, they busted people. Those that pay, they pass. It's the same thing with the drug things in Liberia. I grew up right in that executive mansion with soldiers. I saw the drugs come in. The very people that were sent to arrest them were the very people using the drug. And I listened to their conversation as children. When the ones that you see them busting, like Mr. Sherry said, it's just performative. It's just cosmetic, okay? They just trying to say we're doing something. Most times somebody who refused, they tell you pay this amount. You refuse to pay it, they put you on air, they say, hey, we busted something. It's all a charade. There are a few steps we can take to end this drug thing in Liberia. Number one, we have to improve our intelligence. There are people, listen, I live there. You can sit with the people you know exactly. They keep conversation. People talk. You know, that's why the U.S. strength is not just the military. The U.S. strength is the intelligence. The very person you're talking to, you don't even know. They could be undercover police. They could be CIA, FBI. And you're just spewing. People talk. So you can trace people through conversation to where the drug laws live, where they're coming from. There are things you can do. We should appoint serious people to run these agencies. I don't support capital punishment for a drug dealer because you could end up destroying lots of good people because some good people get sucked into the system because Liberia environment is so fertile for drug peddling and drug distribution because of the acute poverty in the country. Let me end with this story. A young South African girl, her parents are pastors. She got sucked into the drug thing in South Africa because she saw how other people were living. She just wanted to have a decent life. She got sucked in. She went to India, distributed, almost got caught, went to Argentina. That's where she got caught, put in prison, spent some years in prison, even had a child. She came out of prison. Today, she is reformed and she is helping South Africa in a tremendous way. So if we just say give capital punishment, some people that got sucked in the drug thing, they never intended to be in it. It's the economic condition in the country that are forcing people, but the government has to be proactive. The government has to be serious by following the money, following the trail. It's easy. You don't need millions of dollars to follow the trail. There are intelligent people you can employ in Liberia, young people from high school, other places, put them on. You are intelligent officer. We just want you to listen to conversation in the neighborhood, in the nightclubs, in these places. That's where this transaction takes place. You can follow those conversations. You can record. We can bust even the kingpin.
That's a naive way of doing it, Pastor Saliba. Sorry to say. In this very country where we have the most intelligence and the most resources to fight drug, we see the drug proliferation still goes on in the United States. South Africa has one of the worst drug epidemic in Africa. So all of these wealthy countries that have quote unquote better intelligence than we do, it's not easy for them. They're still struggling with it.
That's what I'm saying, because somebody in the system is helping to propel this thing.
It's like that everywhere. That's why it's so hard to fight it. That's the point I'm making.
If you believe everything is money, let JMB sell a bulletproof car and take.
That's not what I'm telling you. I'm telling you that it's a multi-pronged approach that requires both intelligence and resources. One of them we don't have a lot of.
JMB can sell a bulletproof car and use that money to fight drugs. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. I mean, every issue is hard. But we got to fight it. If you can't fight it,
Yeah, you can't be buying bulletproof.
The issue is so difficult, and so we can't fight it because other people are fighting it.
Right.
Let's find a way to fight it. But let's go to our next issue now because we have a lot to cover. Is rape and other forms of sexual violence. I mean, rape victims everywhere. Sometimes has baby in pamper, and this is so ugly. Government officials, regular people, everywhere. How are we doing? Better or worse? Morris. The fight against rape and other form of sexual violence.
Rape, the thing about rape and sexual violence in Liberia is only a small portion of the remnants of the civil war. I was in Liberia for about almost 6 years, and my experience there actually taught me that there's so many Liberians that are walking the streets that are still affected by the war that have not gotten treated. There are mental health issues that are existing in Liberia. There are crazy people walking in clean
most of the
clothes that actually,
perpetrators are above 30 years old.
pretty much, there are kids that were born from the civil war that are affected, that are adults today that did not get any formal treatment as a result of some of the trauma they experienced. So there are people that are actually working in government in clean clothes, but they are actually not, they're not normal. And I'm not saying this to cast any aspersion on anybody, but the truth of the matter is the society itself is affected, and people only seeing what they see. Oh, this person raped. Or, I mean, how can someone just kill him, whole human being, because he said that a girlfriend cheated on him? Something is wrong with that person's psyche. But we need to go and actually do something about this thing. And we still think, because the world is, the gun is silent, everybody is supposed to be as normal as possible. I don't think that is the way it is right now in Liberia. There are people that are affected by the war, that are passing around in the streets, that are raising kids, that have become adults and don't know what normalcy means. They don't know what it means to be normal. And so they don't know how to deal with some of these situations. And
Therefore,
it is what it is, Dennis, unfortunately.
right. So are you saying compared to 2 years ago, we have more crazy people that are raping than before, or the number is less? I want to say the fight against
Dennis. The question you're asking,
you didn't answer my question. That's why I put it that way.
You're asking a question about data. I don't have data to give you because I can't tell you what happened 2 years ago or the data and what's happening today. But I'll tell you what happened 2 years ago, 5 years ago, it happened this year. It is still an offshoot of what we've experienced since the end of the Civil War.
You could say the same thing about the drug we talked about. So why
absolutely. So we're connecting the drug to poverty, right? But Dennis, at least three of your panelists have said that the drug is connected to economic benefit, correct? And if that is the case, I'm also saying to you that rape is also connected to mental health and the trauma that people experience from the war.
Right. And not just that, we want to also say, right?
Say that again.
That could not be the only reason. Why?
Oh, no, it's not the only reason. It's not the only reason. I mean, there are powerful
right
people.
Now, I think they are the minister of
there are powerful people in position of power and influence that use their power, exert the power on vulnerable people, and exploit them.
So these reports and the way the prevalence and things that are happening, do you think they're getting worse or we're getting better?
I don't think we're getting any better. I think it's a volatile situation. It's so fluid. And so, if the society is, social media is the one to me that is helping to hold people accountable, because when people see their names and their picture get on social media as accusers, people start to pay attention to it. Besides that, I think
before I let you go, let's talk about the fight against it, right? Are we letting are victims getting justice now than before?
No.
Are we letting the big people go and then grab the little ones? How are we doing in that fight? Is it better now than before?
The powerful people are the ones that make it to social media. The ones that we don't know about are the ones that actually go to prosecution, they go to prison, and sometimes they stay in prison, they die. We don't hear about it.
And how is that phenomenon? Is it better now or is it getting worse?
It has not changed. I don't think it has changed.
So it's still the same. Let me go to Pastor Saif.
I mean, think about Maxwell Kimayan. Think about this current Deputy Minister of Youth and Sport. Those are the powerful people that made it to social media and people made noise about it. But they, essentially, very little came out of it. But between Maxwell Kimayan and the current Deputy Minister of Youth and Sport, so many other people have been accused between that time.
Right.
But we don't know about
the Minister of Internal Affairs.
Exactly. So the powerful people are the ones that we see on social media. Right. The ones that are less powerful, we don't know about it. They just,
Pastor Salif, so, we still hear these reports of rape, but the way the government is responding to this kind of thing, are we more focused on it and fighting it now? Is that fight getting better? Are we winning a little bit compared to before or not?
I wouldn't say we're winning. I think the age of consent in Liberia should be 18 years old. Anything below that is statutory rape. And the people that are involved with it, it's fighting issues in Liberia is just like the same thing as fighting drugs. Until we make example of some people, that we have this culture of impunity. The people that get prosecuted most in Liberia are just ordinary people who have no voice. The main people, the main corporates, they just get away with it because of their positions in government or other places. So we're not making headways on that. I know it started back in the Ellen time. These news come up, people get accused, government officials get accused. Nobody is penalized for any of that. So it's an environment that fosters these things. As the Bible says, when sin is not punished promptly, then the Son of Man will we indulge in it more. And that's exactly what we said in Liberia. There's no punishment for anything in Liberia, whether economic crime, financial crimes, statutory rape, anything. There is no punishment in Liberia. It's just talk of the lips. And that's why these things keep festering. We got to have a proactive, strategic leadership that said, no, we're not doing this way. This is how we're going to do it. So the long and short answer, no, it's not been punished. If you even hear about rape being punished, just check the background. That person that they're bringing out to punish is an ordinary person from in the corner. I'm not saying that makes it right, no, but we have to set example. Somebody who is in position of authority, and rape can happen in many ways. When you are in position of authority, just like here in America, if you're a teacher in school, you can't go have a relationship, even forget if that person is above 18. The appearance, once you have that position of authority over that person, you cannot use it. You cannot get involved with that kind of thing. People get in trouble for that here. In Liberia, anything can go. And then finally, the economic reasons too. Even the parents are contributing to it because the people need food to eat. If they say somebody came from America, it's the parents that will even encourage their teenage children to go there because it's a way of hustling. The poverty in Liberia got to be addressed to handle drugs, rape, and all these things. The people are poor, Dennis. Anything can happen. The government has to address it. It's easy to address it. Government should not be the higher employer in the country. Government need to create a robust private sector. Public sector cannot be the highest employment. That's where everybody running into government, all the criminals, all the crooks. I know you get uneasy when we use criminals, but all the criminals and crooks, everybody part up in the government. People who got no reason to be in government, people who don't have any education, everybody bundled up in government because they are the highest employer. That's only where people go. Let's build a thriving private sector. Let people be able to work.
Pastor Sally, just for 15 seconds. So when big government officials now being accused of rape,
yes,
the way President Bouaka recently suspended the guy who's allegedly, and it was funny that the people were having their conference while the perpetrator is alleged, and they say, oh, we are investigating, we are doing this, we are doing that. I said, but what if this guy have money? What if they go to the family and say, hey, be quiet, this is $10,000 or do anything, right? But the way when these things happen, is the government taking more actions to shield the perpetrators when they are big shots? Is that happening more now than before? Or
no, it's not happening. And that's what I'm saying. What's happening now is just a travesty of justice. Okay. People need to.
Is it worse now than before?
I don't listen, as I said, I don't have the numbers before me to compare before.
Give me your guts.
I don't think anything is happening. I think it's still business as usual. Everything. If a government official get accused for raping, he should not just be suspended. Suspension should be the first step. Suspension without investigation and prosecution is just a charade. Okay, it's a charade.
Do we have more charade now than before?
Exactly, yes. Under this JMB, because the reason I say yes is because of JMB's experience. This man was 12 years, consecutive years as vice president. I expect more from him. Finally, then let me say it this way, like Morris said, let me borrow from Morris. We did not elect these people to try. I don't want to hear Elvis or anybody texting saying the people trying. We did not elect you to try. We elected you to perform. Please perform. Stop trying. Thank you for trying. We don't want your trying. Perform.
Mohammed,
Yes.
I want to get your side, because every time a big man, we don't see, justice, being very swift and blind. These cases keep coming and things keep, and all these things. So the fight against rape and other forms of sexual violence is the government today. Are we getting a little more serious about it than before? Or that fight is, is it getting bad?
If you see one suspension, you will tend to think, well, this is better now. But this is not catching up with the sheer number of reported incidents, right? Reported incidents of rapes, right? And it's just not catching up with the number. So keep in mind now, the ones that are not reported are probably more than what is reported, because the rural areas are not covered by these things, and you have bad people everywhere. But what I want to say here is, again, going from drugs to rape, these things are what I would call the pathological residue of the Civil War. I mean, all these things now that, we're after the war, during the war years, these were things that were normal. It was normal. When law and order broke down, there was no authority to, monitor these things. Now, after the war, it's worse.
30 years?
Yes, Liberia has never caught up to anything, Dennis. What have we caught up to? Have we caught up to drugs? No. Rape? No. So you have other countries that have been through these things, but they are more settled now. Why aren't we studying those societies that have made, the necessary improvement? One thing I want to caution us about now is the idea of giving, people in authorities a pass, saying, well, they don't have the money. Right now, there are a lot of priorities. There's no money. No, there is money in Liberia. Lots of it. Lots of money. Liberia is a wealthy country. This wealth is not trickling down. The wealth stays at the top of the food chain. So I don't want to hear the idea that Liberia is poor. No, if you have to dedicate $200 million to the fight against drugs, to the fight against rape and incest and all these different, vices in the Liberian society, so be it. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to build a good society, a wholesome functioning society. You cannot be capricious about these things. You have to be intentional about your country, about building your country. You have to, take on this nationalistic fervor. You have to fight as if you're fighting for your own life, because your country matters. If you're very patriotic about your country, all these different vices, Dennis, and you can put them, in a large bucket, and it will fill that bucket. Liberia has so many other problems. You can tie them to anything. I mean, poverty, as he mentioned, is one of the rudimentary causes of some of these things. And so after the Civil War, what have we been able to address? We have not been able to address the economic issues of Liberia. We continue to still borrow. Liberia has never made that leap, that satisfactory leap forward that we've been looking for. It's like after we took one step right after the Civil War, right after the first administration, and now we're going back 10, one leap forward, 10 backwards. So
Thank
we're
you.
going nowhere.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jai. Look, I think this is a cultural thing. I would take a step back for a second, right? What Morris was saying was, it's partially correct, but check a step back before the war. You had people who were government officials, ministers, officials of government who had girlfriends who were in high school. Some of them were 17, some of them was as young as 16, and these were men of power. This has been going on in Liberia since before the war. When I was a kid in Liberia, We knew some people who we know today. You know, some of them are sexual deviants. Some of them are bisexuals. They go both ways, and they were open about it. You know, so the reality is sexual deviancy in Liberia is not something that's new. The thing here is the power dynamic between men and women in the country. Most men who tend to beat their wives and domestically abuse their women in Liberia, usually they go free. Sometimes they go to the police station, the police will tell you, oh, that family issue, you're going to deal with it at home. I think what Mr. Sharif is calling for is that maybe the women in the country, the young women, the older women, they have to have a revolution. They have to lobby the legislature to pass laws to protect them, to give them more protection. Because even in this very country we live in, there was a certain time, not so far ago, where marital rape was acceptable in this country, where a man could have sex with his wife without consent, and it was legal. But through the advocacy of women in this country, they put a stop to that. A man can't just sleep with his wife without her consent, even though they're married. So I think certain things in the country have to evolve culturally. The power dynamic between men and women when it comes to relationship, it has to be, the women have to be on equal protection footing with the men. And also this issue about statutory rape, which is what this big case is about. It's different than quote unquote violent rape where somebody jump on a woman, attack her, maybe it's a stranger, doesn't know the person, and it's a traumatizing experience for the woman. Now in this case, the word with the news we're hearing is this little girl who I think is 14 years old has been avoiding with this guy, and her parents has been telling her to stop. So it's something that they kind of know each other. So it's a statutory rape, which is, I don't want to say it's better than violent rape, but it's still rape. But it's not to the point where you just jump on this person and attack them and rape them. But the key here is that
I don't want you to get in trouble, Evans.
No, I'm just saying. Let's be honest.
That's rape. We can go.
No, I hear what you're saying, but that's why it has a word that says statutory rape, right? Because it's based on the statute of the law. If that person is below the age of majority, in this instance 18, and you have sexual intercourse with them, even if they give you consent, they statutorily can't give you consent under the law. So that's different than somebody who's raping somebody who is, a grown woman and they just jump on them. But the point I'm trying to make here is the president suspended him, pending investigation, and we have to see what this case is going to come up to. Now let's contrast that. Let's juxtapose that to President Weah, right? You had the rape at the embassy in, I think, Nigeria, right? Where there was an alleged rape. I think this young girl got raped, I think, multiple times. And the ambassador there, they tried to cover it up. It was a big scandal. You had 2 Liberian officials, I think, who are probably still in prison in South Korea, who went there and had sex with an underage girl, which is another statutory situation. It wasn't that they didn't have consent, but the person was underage. And I think they're still in jail in South Korea. So it's a cultural thing. Men like to go and chase younger girls. Sometimes they just want to be on that age, on that edge of legality.
We're not delving into the root causes. All we want to try to talk about here now is the government seriously fighting these things or not? Because when you get to these little nuances, you will get in trouble. Don't do it.
I don't care about getting in trouble. We'll trouble. My point here is that
this is rape. If the power, because of the power dynamics, you go to that 7th grade girl and you are the teacher, statutory or non-statutory, that's rape. Period.
No, yeah, I get it. That's what I'm saying, right? But the point here is that the human beings that's in both governments, President Weah, President Boyka, they're not changing. The way they grew up, the way they are as men, the way they grew up with the dominance of men in the society, they still have it in them. You can't change them. So the reality here is, under President Weah, you had the same thing. Men of means, of men of power, they were sleeping with girls who were 17, 18, right, barely on that age of legality.
We are fighting against it better than before. That's what you are saying.
The laws is on the book, right? Like let's be honest here, right? Listen now, the law is on the book. The guy was suspended from his job. That's the first step. The president is not covering this up. He's been suspended. In this pending investigation, this is a statutory rape. That's the point that I'm trying to tell you. This is not a violent rape where somebody raped somebody and they went and captured them. This is about establishing if this girl, number one, is underage. Number two, if he has physical specimen that he was involved with this girl. And then under the law, the statutory raped her, he's going to face the consequences. But that's the investigation here. So I think that the government is doing what they're supposed to do. What are we saying?
Should a man be in jail now?
I mean, it's about probable cause, right? That's how people get arrested in this country and any other jurisdiction. If there's enough
But he's not.
evidence,
He's not,
that's what
right?
I'm saying. If there's enough evidence, right? So if he have his semen that was maybe collected in a girl, and they can prove that she's under the age of 18, if those the probable causes are met, he should be arrested and held until he go to trial.
Yeah, that would take us to our next step here. Our next step is the next one I want us to talk about, whether the government is transparency. And because of time, I want us to just bundle them up, while a few persons talk about one, please talk about the other. So when it comes to transparency, right? Hiring practices, salaries and benefit packages, do we know? Trips, when presidents or government officials take these study tours or president trip, are they transparent about costs and other things? The way contracts are being awarded. Let's talk about transparency 2 years ago and 2 years into 2 years now. So within the next 4 to 5 years, how is the government telling us what they are doing before and now? Pastor Salif.
Thank you, Dennis. I don't know why you chose to pick on me, but I'll take it. But listen, it's a good question. Now, let's see. Under Ellen created the Freedom of Information Act, and that's why a lot of the time we just follow the news. We don't really know what's behind it. Most of the things Ellen did, she never did them with good intent. She just wanted to check a box because she was receiving international funding, and she had to do what would please them. And one of them was the Freedom of Information Act that she created, that commission. The first commissioner for that was my personal friend. We were very close. I was with him before he got a job and all of that, and when he got a job, I went there, we opened the office with him. She just checked the box, put him there, and the international community, Liberia is one of the leading African countries with Freedom of Information Act. Government was not giving them anything. Government was not even giving them funding. They were renting from a Lebanese. I mean, so many things were happening. But on the news in the international community, Liberia is making progress. We have Freedom of Information Act. We have the Freedom of Information Act. We shouldn't struggle to know what government is doing in hiring, in anything. It's the Freedom of Information Act commissioning Liberia. Are they giving us the information? Can we go there and say, I want to know how certain people were hired? What are the best practices? We're not going to find those. Okay? So the government is not transparent. I will say it. This current administration and the previous administration, both of them were not transparent. And I'm praying that one day we can get to that point. We want to know what's the transparency. Even in the case right now with the burning of the Capitol, we still, everything moving here and there. The drugs, we need statistics. So when somebody put in a comment that, they did this and you think it's not progress, we need the numbers. What is the number of arrests? How many were prosecuted? How many went to prison? How many did? That's how we on this side can tell, okay, whether the country is making progress or not. Just because one person was suspended does not mean it's progress. We want to match the output. We want to see what is the end goal, what happened. Give us the number. The government is not giving us those numbers, and the government is not transparent. Even when it comes to awarded contract, we got a PPP there that's supposed to go through that, vet them. They just do whatever they want to do. Dennis, long and short, because it's said time, this government and the previous one, they have not been transparent, and we got to hold them accountable. We need those sheets. We need the Freedom of Information Act to be effective. I should go to Liberia and request anything. Even while I'm here as a Liberian, I should be able to.
Before I let you go, can we not say this administration is a little more transparent, telling us what it, like the MICAT report, they're telling us something, or press conferences, or the press secretary to the president, giving some press conferences. The president, there was a town hall in I think was it Nimba or Bongi? Yes, Nimba, trying to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Now the president is here for a diaspora conference. So compared to 2 years ago, can we say that the government is actually letting us know a little bit more than before?
Yeah, but whatever the government tells us, we can't just take it. We have to match it with other independent reporting. So if what the independent reporting come up with matches what the government saying, then I see transparency. Government can tell you anything because you want something, so they can give you anything. Honestly,
you.
I would, if you ask the question that way compared to Buaka and we are, yes, I think little they're giving us little crumbs here and there, but that is not enough.
Let-
We need the
let-
information. We need the government to open up so that we can have the access to those data.
Thank you. Morris, I mean, we don't even know how much people in government making, and we are paying them. Transparency.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of transparency, I think, at least from my experience, what I would say is that I think there are citizens who have utilized the Freedom of Information Act and they got the information that they needed. I remember, I think it was Eugene Nangwe or somebody during the early time, or Henry Costa, one of them, used it multiple times and they got the information that they needed. But the thing about it, Dennis, you're giving examples of the government making effort. To me, like the meeting they're having around the country or the press secretary having press conference, those are sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest, Dennis. Let's be really honest with you. The president suspended, I think 400 some more people from not declaring the asset. Did we get any new update since that time? When the yellow machine controversy happened with the government, and they came back and said we want to rectify and provide the right information to you. Did anything happen after that? The press secretary, the information minister, have the president even acknowledged that something went wrong and we need to correct step? We need to take corrective measure. The problem with Liberia leadership now, it seems, is that nobody wants to take a negative news anymore. Nobody wants to say, I take responsibility for this. It's a judgment error. I will correct it in the future. To me, those are honest leadership. You can't come and tell us every single day the government doing this, the government doing well, the government doing well. There are times that the government has to say, we were so ambitious in our plan. Today, we may not achieve that plan. But it's okay because we've made success in this other area, we made success. But here we are not going to be able to achieve it. It's okay for the government to say that. Unfortunately, sometimes they are giving the citizens sound bites. And that's why sometimes the citizens react the way they react. They get angry and say, but people are ungrateful. You're not being honest with the people in giving any information you're giving them.
Thank you. Elvis.
All right, thank you. Mr. John, have you ever utilized the Freedom of Information Act yourself to get information from the government?
No.
Yeah, and I think that's what Morris is saying. Those things are there for our benefits, right? So media houses like yours and others, if they want to know how much the trip was, they can send an official, a request to the government and request for that information based on the Freedom of Information Act. And I think to think that these guys that we have in Liberia are going to willfully give you this information without you requesting it is it's a folly. The reality is they should be doing it in theory, but they're not going to. Now, if you ask for it, there's a law, there's an act that's passed, and they refuse it, then you can say they're obfuscating information from you as a citizen of the Republic of Liberia. So I think we should be asking for it, right? But again, it's going to be like this for a long time. We're not that advanced of a country where we have a database where every expenditure that government makes is put in a database where you can freely go on an open website on a .org.
You got to be advanced to have a database.
I mean, when I say advanced in terms of record keeping, when I say advanced, it's not just it's just about the technique of doing something, right? It's about technology. The way in which we do our bureaucracy in Liberia is quite archaic. It's way backwards. It's not up to standard.
You have a website. What advancement do you need?
Mr. John, that's what I'm saying. You're into technology and other things. For you, it's easier. But in Liberia, we haven't updated the way our bureaucracy works in that country. A lot of people are still doing paperwork. A lot of people don't. We don't have a server, a government-wide server that all the different ministries can talk to each other and pull records from other ministries. It's not like that.
The newspaper.
Oh, come on, Mr. John. Well, the point here is we're not there yet. Now you can. You asking me? That's above my pay grade. I don't know. I'm not the one that running the country. If they had a desire. Okay, so if you think it's true that all of these things are online, then let's go and search them. Let's go and see how much
you
they pay
are
on.
saying we are not able to put it in the newspaper because we're not there
No,
yet.
I didn't say newspaper. I said we haven't evolved to run our bureaucracy online, where you can have different agencies and different ministries having all the database on the internet.
If you just put it online, say it on radio, put it in newspaper. There's a guy
Okay.
in I think a single area. He writes on a chalkboard. Put it there.
Yeah, I mean, tell JMB that he can do that. But the point I'm making is this government, it's not going to be more transparent than the previous administration. Now, for you and other media houses, if they want to know information, use the Freedom of Information Act. Get information. If you really want to know how much they use to go to these different trips, ask for it. They probably get to you like a few months later when the issue has died down. But that's part of the reason why that act is there, because they can delay you by the
So
time
you
you get
think
the information.
transparency is getting better now than before, or still the same, or worse?
It's still the same. It's absolutely still the same. And I don't think you can blame this government. What is the
Yeah, thank you.
mechanism in place that they should give you details before they go on a trip? There's no
No,
law
not
requiring
details.
them to do that.
There are laws, even when it comes to political parties, right? They should be able to give us a proper accounting of how they
Yes.
spend their money. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
And they say, well,
That's why you have a yearly audit, right? The audit is there to tell you how the government's spending resources. Or is there a law to tell you that they're required to give you a breakdown of how much they're spending before they go on trips? What's that law?
no, I didn't say give me a breakdown before you go on trip, right?
So that's what I'm saying. What are they doing wrong here under the statute of the law? That's what I want to understand.
I'm not. It's not about wrong or right. I tell them being transparent. Are they transparent? Are they telling us what they're doing? Do we have a breakdown of what's going on? If you are on a steady tour, if we have a budget, for instance, after the budget we have a performance report. We're doing that. That's all I want to know, whether it's getting better or getting worse.
Yeah. So the governor has been doing that. Even we had time. There was outturn report about expenditure.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
Yeah, but the way those reports are generated on Dennis, they are not generated down to the dollars and cents. They are giving in whole numbers. So it's difficult to tell how much of it is actually actual expenditure. So for example, if they say, we budgeted $60 million in Ministry of Finance, in the outturn report, you can see $55 million Ministry of Finance. So what that money now, you have to go determine what that $55 million went to: salaries, stationery, trips, stuff like that. You will find some of it, but it will not go all the way down to the cent. I doubt it.
Yeah, but that is the problem. I think what Dennis is stressing on is, even if you don't give us this information before, let's assume the recent trip they did to Japan. If we don't know the trip analysis, how many people went, what was the cost of hotel, how much was they got this other money that they spent, whatever went on. When you came back, this public funding you're using is not your private fund. That's why you're accountable to the public to tell us what you spend, how things went. If the government is just going to lump something and give it to us, that's not transparency. Besides that, we don't have independent bodies to verify what the government is saying. So they just throw anything on the public and they expect we should believe it. What are the independent bodies? If the independent bodies came and said, no, this is what they actually spent, the government will come and rebut it. That's why the Freedom of Information Act Commission is supposed to be independent so that it can give accurate reporting based on all the ministries, the finance, everybody that what disbursed money. Freedom of Information should be able to collect all that data and not just depend on what government tells us.
I wanna wait like Brian man. Ask how much money Donald Trump spent to go to England. We don't even care about how much the government spent in America. Like we won't go to the highest standard.
Hold on, Evans.
I can tell you the truth. They got those records. If you want it, you can find those.
Well, when the last time you went and look at it, Mr. Sherry?
People that ask for it,
okay, I'll listen. I'll be quiet.
Government usually
has no idea. Oh, go to United States, go to America. Why?
I mean, that's my point. Is why are we being so hypersensitive on the Liberian government when things that we don't even do in America?
Poor and people are wasting money. That's why we have America got all the resources. When they're wasting their money, we understand. Not a poor country. Like
you pay more taxes in America than you pay in Liberia. You have more of a stake here than you do in Liberia.
I have the amenities. I got roads to drive on. I got light over my head.
Mohammed, let's talk about it. The other side of transparency.
Yes.
Let's go to transparency and talk about pay, right? Do we know? I remember when I was interviewing Senator Comedy Wizard, he said the same way you find it here, go find it there. And all they meant was you go to the budget and see the amount, which is not telling you anything. Also, contracts. Our friend Josiah Joker got in trouble because they say, well, your wife is employed and you did it. Do we have things to show, like this job is advertised? Here are the notes, the interviews. When you are called to present these things, so transparency in hiring processes, awarding of contracts, the bid, and all these things. Do we see transparency? Is it better now than before?
I don't think so. I don't think it's better. Dennis, I'll tell you a story. So there is I don't know if I told you that before, a representative from your home county in Sino County. He was on one of the talk shows, and I asked him a question. This is years ago. It was a phone conference talk show. So I asked him a question. You're talking all of this. How much do you get paid? What's your annual salary? And he got so upset. And he said to me, go ask your brother Elijah Kroba. Do you say this to your brother Elijah Kroba? So he went tribal. That's what these people do. So he said to me, but how much you get paid? I said, here's the website. This is my pay. And he didn't want to listen to that. I said, this is how much I get paid. And here's the website where you can verify my annual salary. So that tells you that even a lawmaker is sitting there hiding his salary, hiding their perks, right? Hiding everything. So look, there is no transparency when it comes to Liberia. I mean, so for what's going on, for the amount of money that they get paid, there's no transparency. And then you have all these media institutions that the government is in control of. You have the New Liberian, you have LBS, you have all these, social media outlets now that are pro-government. You mean to tell me they can't come out here and tell us how much they're spending on trips, how much that that the trip benefited taxpayers? They should be able to do that. At the very least, have a dedicated website for these kinds of things in the interest of transparency. If you're taking the Liberian people money, you got to report back to the Liberian people. So we need a serious effort. So we have a lot of problems. And so, with Elvis saying that, we don't have to look for it. In the interest of transparency, they need to give this. We don't need to go fishing for this. And we don't need to compare this to the United States, okay? Because they come here in the United States and beg for money. The United States, say all you want. But look, the other day, outside my house, people were cleaning the street, watching off the street. Okay, this paved road was being cleaned off, washed off. How many times in the city of Monrovia, which is supposed to be the most developed city in all of Liberia, how many times do you see that? How many times do you see, people coming in, public works employees coming in to actually fix water lines? How many times do you see this? So no, we're not going to make the comparison with the United States because we're far behind. We are so behind that it's even mind-boggling that we should even make an attempt to compare Liberia to the state of Delaware. We can't do that. We cannot do that because if to try to do that will be embarrassing ourselves, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Dennis,
The people in Delaware, they pay taxes, thousands upon thousands of dollars yearly in taxes. How many people? What percent of the Liberian are paying taxes to the government on a yearly basis?
Thank you.
The government is responsible for that. The government.
No, the government runs on your taxes. If you don't pay the taxes, how you expect them to render you services?
So the Liberian government needs to make sure that
hold on, Mohammed. Evans is moving the goalpost. Evans,
Elvis, I just want to give you a small statistics. 2005, the government budget was $80 million when Ellen took over. And now we are around $700 million. It means our revenue is actually growing, right? It means people are paying taxes. It means the government is collecting money. However, as the government collects more money, the government continues to expand. It's getting bigger. The government is getting bigger. So that money is just it's like cash cow. That's how they call it, right? So you just putting the money in the belly of the cow and you just sucking it
But
up.
Maurice, you're a smart guy. Most of that tax revenue is coming from the free port and businesses, not regular citizens like you and I. You know,
It doesn't
everybody
matter.
that work in the job.
Elvis,
There's
Elvis,
not an argument to make. That's why
Elvis,
I'm trying to
Elvis,
stop you.
Elvis,
I mean,
Elvis.
why can't you guys see that? You just want to
No,
criticize the government.
Elvis,
No, no,
Elvis,
it's not for
The
me.
everyday Liberian citizen who walk on a dentistry or Liberia, they're not paying taxes.
Elvis.
They're not paying taxes.
Elvis, what are
Elvis,
they paying
so whose
taxes
job
for?
it is? Whose job it is to collect the taxes?
That's what I'm. That's the point. When I said it, everybody got mad at me. The government needs to impose taxes on everybody in the country.
Elvis, it's
And
not
then
about
you hold on. Then you have a stake now because your money is getting taken by the government. So demand that they give you services. That's how this
Elvis,
country
stop it.
works. People
Elvis,
always say, "I pay my taxes, I should get services." You're not paying taxes. What do you expect the government to give you?
Elvis,
Elvis, whatever happened to the
Elvis, when you're
maritime
working, you're not
funds?
going to pay tax in America.
Elvis, what
You're
happened to the
unemployed, you don't
maritime
pay
funds?
taxes. How you pay tax when you're unemployed?
Okay, Dave. If you're working, you get paid that. Don't demand this from the government because you're not
Elvis,
saying it.
Elvis,
Elvis, what
don't
happened
say
to the
those kind of
maritime
things.
Elvis,
funds?
come on, man.
Dennis,
I'm serious.
Elvis,
let me take
Elvis,
30
stop
seconds
it.
here, Dennis, because Elvis
Yeah, I
keep
will give
moving
you
the
30.
goalpost.
I will give you 30. Elvis,
You
Elvis keep
guys
moving the
just looking at it
goalpost.
one way.
When
no,
Morris
Elvis,
gave
but
him the
stop it, right?
statistics,
How do you pay taxes in America?
My taxes are, usually they're taken out of my check,
Oh, your
or
check.
when I go buy something, there's still taxes there. You know how
okay,
taxes work in this country. Who
Hold on,
implemented it?
man.
It's not the government.
Hold
The government
on.
implemented all of that infrastructure
Hold
for us to
on,
pay those
man. You
taxes.
said it.
you know Dennis won't just ask you a question. He has reason. So hold on, let him give you the
Oh.
reason why he's asking you.
Yeah, go ahead, Pastor Salif. Elvis,
Yeah. So Elvis, you keep talking about people not paying taxes, then they ask you, you say from your job. Is the Liberian government creating jobs? How many people in Liberia working remove government workers? How many people working? Government's not creating jobs. Morris just gave you the statistic from Ellington budget was 80 million. Now it's gone to how many millions? So the problem there is the impropriety in spending. A country like Liberia should not be spending the way we're spending. A country like Liberia should not be enlarging the size of the government as even America you're trying to compare us to. What is the fight of Republican and Democrat? Is it not small government? So then how can a poor country like Liberia keep increasing the size of a government? And then you say, why we hypersensitive? The reason we are hypersensitive on Liberia, me on this show, Elvis, you don't fast before you eat. You don't fast to put gas in your car. You don't fast to do anything. The people in Liberia, everything they do, they must fast for it. That's why religion is milking the people, because that's the only place the people have hope. Government has failed. Everybody depending on fast and prayer. That's why we hypersensitive on the government so that they can bring up a fiscal responsibility, appropriation, so that they just don't spend the money on foolishness. That's why we
Government going like bro. Personal responsibility.
Thank you. At this time, we want to open the phone lines. If you want to be part of the conversation, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403 to participate. We'll end with solutions. What do I know? Every your solution now is tax government to tax us.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but let's start with solutions on. We talk about the rape issues and the fight against these kind of crimes, and also we talk about the lack of transparency. So let's advance solutions, starting with Mohammed, and that will be your closing.
So and the solution is right there, right? So you need lots of money, resources, which the government already has. The government has those things. And I was trying to push through a question there, but which Elvis didn't answer, which is whatever happened to the maritime funds? I mean, during the Dole year, this was tens of millions of dollars. This was a cash cow. I mean, this was tons and tons of money. I'm sure that resource channel is still there. You know, they're not telling you, they're not transparent on that. What happened to the port? Money from the port. What's happening there? What's happening with money from the Roberts International Airport? What about other ports around the country? I mean, the government is taking in a lot of money, lots of resources. So yes, you can divert some of these resources, lots of it, to the social ills of the society. We talk about the rape crisis, we talk about the drug crisis. The government has enough funds to be dedicated to those areas, because in 20 years from now, 30 years from now, if you don't, you're not going to have a country to go to. And so that's how serious this is. So ever since after the Civil War, nothing that the Civil War left behind was ever addressed. Look at us. A lot of us, I mean, we still have the impact of the Civil War. You have criminals, walking around, walking the streets. You have criminals in the halls of power, who are ambassadors and, they're the senators. You just have Prince Johnson just died. You have representatives. You have ministers. You have all kinds of people who are well-to-do, wealthy people who murder our people.
We're talking solution, Mohammed.
Dennis, I know you don't like this topic, but this is Friday night debate. I keep telling you guys, if
And
you
Dennis
bring me
doesn't
on
like
here,
the word criminal, Mohammed.
if you bring me on here, I told my colleague the other day, I bring the full arsenal. I don't take prisoners. This is what we are supposed to be talking about. So when we're talking about a solution, you cannot have a country full of people walking around and justice have not been served. Okay, so you have that going on. So what is there now for Liberia to do? If we don't do what we're supposed to do, then we may relapse again. We may relapse into real poverty. The people talk about poverty now, we've not seen anything. We may really, really relapse on all of these things that we're talking about today that they're not addressed. I mean, the drug crisis, for God's sake. How did it start? It didn't just explode on the scene. It was bit by bit, gradually, and no one did anything. And now we're talking about the rape crisis. It wasn't like this like 30 years ago. Elvis said it was always there, and he's correct. But it was under the surface. These things were always there, but it was really under the surface. When you heard these things, people will be alarmed and there will be some consequences. Now it's celebrated. You talk about this guy, this assistant minister or deputy minister or whoever, why is he still walking the streets? Why is he not in prison already? Why is he not incarcerated and charged already? Dismissal is not the only thing. So, I mean, it's a lot. And the solution there, again, I go back to what I said earlier, there has to be strong institutions. The legal institutions have to be strong. The justice minister can't be calling the courts. The people in the Ministry of Justice can't call the court to say, oh, we can't fight that case. I want you to drop that right now. Oh, that's my brother's son right there in front of you. I want you to drop that case. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Justice has to be blind, like Chair Chipo wanted it to be. And when you do those things, then you're on the right track.
Thank you. So, Elvis, let me come to you. Their conclusion should be the solution. And to wrap up, we're talking about forward or backward. So that way, whether we are moving forward or backward, what are your solutions are. Please don't tell me about taxes anymore.
No, please, I have to mention it. But overall, I think we're making progress. And I think this progress started with President we are conceding. Many people say, oh, well, you ain't got no other option. You're supposed to concede. Yes, you conceded. But it's progress for our democracy, we must admit. And I think overall, we've been making progress. We saw some hiccups when it came to the respecting of the rule of law initially in this government. I think they've stabilized. They got everything that they wanted. What about hook or about crook? They took all the things that they needed. So now I think they're more stable. Hopefully they continue to make progress. But on the issue of taxes, I think we're too sympathetic to the Liberian people. And I hate to say it to sound crass, but taxes, income tax, there's one thing we have in this country called income tax. It means any income that you get, you must pay taxes on it. Say a man is a mechanic and he knows how to fix cars. He has the right to go start a garage start a mechanic shop in his garage. But the government expects you to pay tax on that income that you're getting. Say a man is a very smart guy, he wants to do business consulting. You can go start a business consultancy, but the government expects you to pay taxes on that business consultancy, job that you have. Go to eBay and start selling things on eBay. Government expects you to pay. So a woman in Liberia who's selling Willa Market, who took upon herself and said, I'm going to go sell Billabo. Government should expect you to pay taxes on that income that you're getting from the Billabo. You have to stop with the whole, the people poor, you can't put more string on it. Everybody have to pay taxes. In America, we say there's only two things that is assured. Death and taxes. You must pay taxes. So if the people pay the taxes now, that's why I say a lot of Liberian people don't even got the energy to even go and protest anything because they don't really have real skin in the game. Most of the money we're getting is from foreign donors. It's from foreign people giving us charity. The Liberian people themselves. Nation building is hard. You have to sacrifice to build a nation. It's not about, the government not doing this for me. The government not doing that for me. Yeah, like I said, It's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country, right? Liberian people have to sacrifice. They have to take upon themselves that we're going to build our country. We're going to put the money that's necessary to build our country, and we're going to keep hold the government feet to the fire because this is our hard-earned money that we're giving you. Most people can't even count on their hand the last time they paid $100 in taxes to the government. You think the woman that's selling market in real estate, she ever took? No, Mr. Ja, please don't cut me off. Don't cut me off, please.
Right? No. I will cut you off, and here is why. Right? Taxes, somebody got to come. You don't just wake up this morning, you put your hand in the pocket and say, I'm going to find out, I'm going to pay taxes. Even the land that people are selling, that they don't even collect taxes on the land. Who's supposed to collect taxes? The widow market people. So I don't want you to make it that the citizens are at fault because they are not paying taxes. That's the point I want to inject in before you go. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Look, my simple point here, we all know this. The government has to expand its tax base. Almost every citizen in this country pays taxes. And one of the things I was telling you about advancement in our bureaucracy is one of the issues. We haven't digitized it where you put a system in place where everybody, before they can get a job or want to get a job, they have to have an identification number, like a social security number, where it's directly reported to the government. You know that person is hired, and you automatically deduct taxes from their payroll. All of those things are a technological advancement that we lack in the country. When I said everybody says, "Oh no, you can do it," it's so simple. It's not simple, but it's an infrastructure that you have to build. The Liberian government it hasn't built it yet. So my point here is, no matter who, the lowest, the poorest, once you make income, if it's $5, you must pay taxes on that income, and that's how the government functions from those tax money to give you, a better life, to give you services, to build roads. That's how it works. Whether you like it or not. That would be my closing. I don't want to take up much more time. Other people.
Thank you, Pastor Salif.
Thank you, Dennis. Elvis is hilarious tonight, because Liberian people are not against tax paying, but taxes and services, they go hand in hand. I pay taxes to get services. Age immemorial, Liberian people have been paying taxes. We've been paying property taxes on our houses, and then what services has the government provided for the people? There's no services. So when you tell the people to provide taxes with no services, that's corruption. When I give you my money, you should be able to provide the services. Liberians are doing everything for themselves. There are no roads. People can't even drive cars in front of their houses. You got to park cars somewhere. People walking. Cars can't go anywhere. When I was little growing up, Texas used to take people all around. People walk from Chuba all the way to Joba. From that place, nothing happening. So, but you keep telling the people, keep paying more. So you are agreeing with the government, like, yeah, let's keep milking our people. We'll take the taxes from them, but we'll do nothing from them. If the government wants the people to pay taxes, they should be responsible. When these people pay the taxes, they should properly appropriate the money by providing the requisite services. You keep comparing Liberian America. I pay taxes in America. You are getting the services. If the U.S. government refuses to provide services, you'll see people in this country, they will not want to pay their taxes. So don't look at this thing from one way. So, Dennis, that is that. Now, what's the solution? Number one, when people are not transparent, it means they have something to hide. Only people who don't have something to hide that are transparent. So those are the two things. It's either I'm transparent or I'm hiding something. That's just the opposite of transparency. You're hiding something. So if the government has nothing to hide, let them put all the facts out there. That's what we need. We need the facts. Two, we need that culture we need punitive measure. Why Liberia does not punish crime, why we don't punish anything that happens in our country. People get accused, we accuse them, afterwards they come back. Morris said it. It was a whole yo-yo-yo when how many people were suspended for not sending in their how you call it, access declaration. What became the outcome? Zero. Nothing else we heard from it. Everybody that is accused, just give it a matter of time. It dies down. We don't go back to it. When President Bouaka became president, one of the first things he ever did, you remember, Elvis, was to go do drug tests. He said, well, war on drugs. Has he forced any of his ministers to also do the drug test? Has he forced any of the directors to do drug tests? It was just a show. So we're not serious. We need seriousness. We need, when a minister you appointed, refuse to do what you're supposed to do. They gave us the 100 days deliverables, and one of them was to sign that access, and then to sign, there was another something they're supposed to sign about transparency. Nobody signed those. Who did he hold accountable? So when we run the culture of impunity, we will keep going through the same cycle. Today, Liberia is number 8 poorest country in the world. With all the vast resources we sit on, that means something is fundamentally wrong. We need to get serious in our leadership. If we're not serious, then we will keep having the same cycle. It is unacceptable. Final thing I will add is when it comes to the drug issue, we need intelligence. It's not force. We need intelligence. I said it before and I say it again. America's might is not her military, as many people think. America's might is intelligence. America runs on intel. You don't even know who's reporting on you. You don't even, it's intel. Liberia can spend they spend all the monies on covert operation, and we just don't even know where drugs coming from. We don't even know who bringing in the drugs. When they say they arrest drug dealer today, tomorrow, they're already out on the street. What is going on? So the government is not serious. We need to be serious. People need to be punished for their crimes, for their misbehavior, for their mismanagement, and then that will serve as a deterrent for other people who wanted to do it. They say, hey, see what happened to this guy. You don't want to do that. But where there's the culture of impunity, anything goes. You want me to keep going, Dennis?
No,
Why you want me to go, Dennis?
Let me go to Mohammed for passport manager for his closing.
Dennis sleeping. Didn't tired now.
He's tired now. Now help me put a man to sleep when they taxed him.
Yeah, I think Elvis. I mean, listening to you, I can see clearly.
My connection was getting poorer.
Oh, yeah, Elvis. I'm listening to you, and I can tell that. Yeah, there are some. It seems like you don't understand government very well, and you don't understand the social contract between the citizens and the people. In terms of the way that government should operate, at least from when you start talking about people will market them or pay taxes, then you go back to the history of what caused the Liberian Civil War in the first place. The Civil War was caused because most of the citizens were feeling, dejected by the government. The government not doing much for them, but the government was taking a lot from them. And you had a small one, less than 1% of the population that were wealthy. The same exact situation is existing right now. Almost all of the most wealthy Liberians you find in the country are politicians. They are either, in the House of Representatives as representative, or they're senators, or they're somewhere in the executive branch of government. Almost all of the richest people in the country are in government, right? And it's not like they were wealthy before they got in government. For example, Thomas Fowler, he was selling plank. Suddenly, he's a millionaire. Sir Joseph, he was, doing some kind of humanitarian work. Suddenly, he's a multi-millionaire in Liberia. So all of these people are accumulating wealth through government. But meanwhile, you have a woman who's selling dongafle down waterside, and she's trying to make ends meet just to send her kids to school. The schools are not available. You don't have schools available for her kids to go to school. Then Sir Joseph come one day and say, okay, I just pay school for you. I'm gonna be thankful to me because I pay your school. So you breaking the relationship between the people and the government in the ways the service delivery is supposed to happen. However, you Elvis thinking now the people that are in the informal sector are supposed to be paying taxes because that tax is supposed to provide services to them when actually that service going to somebody else's pocket and making them rich. So the people get angry and then they react and then turn into war. I'm telling you, every trigger that's supposed to start a conflict is existing in Liberia right now as we speak. Every single trigger, every identifier that's supposed to start a conflict is there right now. It's just waiting for the opportunity for something to happen. I'm not saying we should go to war.
Don't make us scared.
No, I'm not saying we should go to war, but I'm saying if you have majority of the population that are young people, this is just simple theory. Majority of the population are young people. Majority of them are poor. The motorcycles, they out of high school, or they getting half big education. It takes just a small group of informed citizens to galvanize them and give them small resources for them to react the way they react. So the indicators are there. We just got to pay attention to them. That's all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if we don't do something about it, something's going to happen. I'm sorry, but it's just bad news. But yeah,
If you're making income, you must pay taxes on it. That's my point.
Okay, obviously.
What else? You making 50,000 or more, $100 or
I don't
more,
think
pay
we are in
taxes.
disagreement.
Okay, that's
and they
my
are paying
point.
taxes.
There's nothing to disagree with. No, what I might be when I paying taxes, the men are driving bicycle, motorcycle, not paying taxes. Not collecting taxes for that man.
How much tax Joseph? How much tax does Sir Joseph pay? Do you know?
Sir Joseph getting his taxes taken from his salary automatically. You know that, right?
Do you know the amount he pays?
Exactly.
The point I'm making, he gets taxes taken from his salary, right? All government people get taxes taken from his salary. I don't know how much he paid, but he gets taxes taken from his salary. It all depends on what the tax rate is in Liberia.
Probably not paying much.
You got to go through the Freedom of Information Act to find out.
To know that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's implemented now. Value added tax.
That.
Yeah, but
So the status, right?
then there's one thing I kept forgetting to add. I wrote it down, but I will keep missing it. The government has to have programs for the young people. There's no program.
For the next show.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys are not agreeing with me. You know how much money the government losing for all the Willa market and pimping boys in that country?
And you know how much the government wasted from what other people have already
Yeah,
done?
when the pimping boys are paying the taxes, they will put the pressure on the government. If the government's down, they're not using the tax money rightfully.
Thomas Fowler is stealing money.
They think you are saying the issue we face in the country today because government is not collecting taxes. Is that the issue?
Not enough taxes and not enough people putting into the tax pool.
Government is
Because
not
the government
true.
is not doesn't have an effective infrastructure to collect more taxes. That's the point. The government should develop an infrastructure to collect taxes from almost every citizen that's getting income in the country. That's my point.
If data don't support your claim, like I said to you, from 2005, we've seen revenue increase year by year. All the way to 2025, we've seen revenue increase.
But Morris, the LRA.
But where is that revenue coming from, Morris? It's coming from people bringing imports into the country mostly. And the Lebanese people that got business in the country, not from the everyday Liberian. That's the point I'm making.
Let me ask you this one question. So if you collect money from the Lebanese people, the Indian people, and you eat it, it will be different when you collect the money from regular people. You will keep that one. You will keep.
Yeah. Yes. You know why? 1 second, please, Mr. Pastor Salih. Because the Lebanese is a foreigner, right? He's not going to come and protest and say, "What you do with my tax money?" The normal Liberian man who barely making enough and he's taking 15 or 20% of his income, he's going to be pissed if you use his money, cavalierly, misuse his money. He's going to come on the street and demand more from you. They have more skin in the game, so they demand more. Most people in Liberia probably never paid taxes in their life, in 30 years or 40 years old.
Because
how can you live in a country and you're not contributing to the tax pool of the country?
We're going to end here. Maybe we'll bring Thomas next week to explain taxation to you.
Yeah, that's the one can explain to me. Maybe I don't know what tax is.
Elvis, you know why America seceded from Britain?
Yeah, no taxation without representation.
Taxation without representation. It's the same thing in Liberia. Taxation without services. The government.
That's why I keep saying, who the billable when I'm paying taxes? Where are taxes coming from? Where's she paying taxes?
Have you heard about
how will you put that expectation on the billable woman? When
I'm telling you, the informal sector, a lot of money passed through that sector, and the government is not getting tax revenue from it.
Let me ask you a question.
Have you heard
how will you
about
put that expectation on the billable woman?
Yeah, I heard the hot tax, and that's why people was against it, because people living in houses were not getting representation. They were paying hot tax and were not getting representation.
Exactly.
I'm advocating for the government to take taxes on every income that's made in the country, whether small or large. And then those people, listen carefully, there's a second part of it. There's a second part. Those people who get in the taxes to the government, they now have a special responsibility to hold them accountable on how they spend their tax money.
So how do you
there's more people involved.
So that's
my point.
How do you define? What do you say those who get the income? What do you mean on income?
Any income, any money that you earn. You said billable, you make $10, pay $3 out of that $10 to the government.
How will the government know how much billable?
That's why I said the government have to build an infrastructure. That's what you call development. That's how you have to improve your country and your bureaucracy. If you can't do that, then you're losing a lot of tax revenue. That's the point.
Those people are in the informal sector. The reason why they are called informal sector because it's difficult for the government to determine what the sale and revenue performance is. You can tell. You can't.
And the vast majority of Liberians are in the informal sector, and thereby the government is losing a lot of potential tax revenue.
Elvis, my father was in the
gotta go,
informal
gentlemen.
sector, and my father paid taxes. You know, we had this store, and every time the tax collector would come, he would pay taxes, and I would see the flag receipt. He'll say, "This is your flag receipt, Omer Alaji." And then he will pay the hot tax. You know, all the houses we have.
No, but you had a brick and mortar. You had a brick and mortar that they can go to. A Willa market, they got a little thing table on the side of the road. I'm just telling you, majority of the people that just do Willa market selling small goose here and there.
We all Liberian.